friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here to do a book tag today. I was recently tagged in the First Date book tag by Gabby, so I will link that video down below, as well as the original. This tag was created by Katie, and I will have her video linked down below as well. There are 10 questions, and they're all about like kind of first dates, and I guess I should have filmed this on Valentine's Day, but Gabby did hers on Valentine's Day, so I didn't know until after Valentine's Day that I was tagged. So I'm doing it a little late, but it is still February, so it's the month of love and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. But let's celebrate a little bit of love by doing this tag. Okay, so I did not hate Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. There was something a little off for me, and I still can't quite put my finger on it. I believe it's the writing style, but I did love the characters of this book, but the plot and the pacing was a little off. And the world building, I just don't get it. Most of you know, Rainbow Rowell is one of my favorite all-time authors, so when I read Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, yes, disappointed with this one. It was a lot less than I expected from her, and I think it's just the change in genre. Better than I expected, because I had it on my TBR for quite some time until I finally picked it up, and that is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I absolutely love this book. I am obsessed with this series. I already did reviews for the first and second books in the series. Absolutely loved this. If I knew that I was going to love it as much as I did, I definitely would not have waited as long to read it as I did. The books that I was highly anticipating, and the cover was absolutely gorgeous, was The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. The cover is stunning. However, I didn't like the story so much on the inside. It wasn't as magical or as like creepy magical as I thought it would be. I'm going to pick the same book that Gabby did for this question, because I also went into this book blind, and that is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I think this is a book best gone into blind, as long as any trigger warnings won't trigger you. It does have domestic abuse in here, so if that triggers you, maybe you do need to read up on it a little bit. But I have really enjoyed most of Colleen Hoover's writing, so when I saw that she had a new release out, I immediately went to the store, picked it up, and read it, and loved it. I definitely read this book very fast last summer, and that is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I absolutely loved this book. I talk about this book quite often on my channel, so if you haven't seen me talk about it a million times, it's my favorite book of 2016, just because this is like a love triangle done right, and I just inhale read it. I can't think of a particular book, because I don't often have book hangovers, and of course now that I say that, I'll probably have a book hangover. But I do find that when I feel like a book hangover happening, or a slump coming on or something like that because of a book hangover, I usually start DNFing a bunch of books, because I can't find a specific book that's gonna like get me out of that hangover. So if I start reading a book and I don't like it, I'll either temporarily set it aside or permanently set it aside. So I'll either DNF a lot or pick up a book and it does hold my attention and I don't end up putting it aside, then I read a lot slower than I would on like, you know, like if I wasn't in that hangover period. So there's not a particular book that I reach for, but I either read a lot slower or I DNF. It was definitely trying too hard for me was Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. And I say this because I felt like this book was just trying to do too much too fast. This is going to be a series, I believe like a 6-book series, maybe even longer. And I felt like too much of the world was thrown at us, too much like magic system, political intrigue, too many characters. And it just kind of all got jumbled to me, as well as the friendship. I felt like we were just told they were friends instead of exploring it, so sorry. But I am continuing in the series, hoping that it like kind of calms down a little bit. That mental illness books or books that deal with heavy topics, it's really hard to get them just right. And I think especially if it's something that you as the reader have experience with, it's really hard to find that connection that you're like, yes, exactly, that's exactly how I feel. But I really connected to this book and I really loved it, and that is Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Klosko. If you haven't read this book and you have suffered from cutting, tread lightly, because this isn't a happily ever after story. It's kind of moving on to that next chapter in your life, putting one foot in front of the other each and every day. And I think that's more of a realistic take than there just being this miraculous recovery or a guy coming into the picture and fixing everything. I just felt that the characters in here were like real people, and it just was such a realistic take on friendship, finding yourself, overcoming something difficult, and it just kind of did everything right, and I loved this story. Asks about that humiliating read, and I wouldn't really say that I'm embarrassed to have read or enjoyed this book, but I think that if I read 50 Shades of Grey in public, that a lot of people would be looking at me for my reaction while I was reading it, and that could be a little awkward. So definitely 50 Shades of Grey. So that concludes the questions for this first date book tag. I'm going to be tagging the following people. I'm going to tag Sylvia from Wish Fulfillment, and Danny from Danny Darling, and Nicole and Maria from Let's Talk Books, and anybody else that wants to do this tag. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed this tag, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye!